și vom discuta.
We will discuss about investment opportunities, but more important, the perspective of the business environment. And the panel will be moderated by the senior partner of
Carolina Bugayan, director general
from Purcari,
John Smith,
head of private equity in Valda, CFO Premier Energy. Let's give them a round of applause.
Welcome, guys. It's really a high bar for us to have this panel after the lunch, right? But we'll hope we'll rise up to the expectations in this room. Thank you for cutting your lunch short, and thank you for coming. So look, the goal for today is to have an engaging and insightful panel. And the word engaging is very important. Don't overestimate the attention of people after a lunch, even a light one. Right, so today we're going to talk about the investments in Moldova. We have a fantastic panel here representing technology, wine, money, energy, so all the good things that make an economy. So on a serious note, look, Moldova economy has had a star year in 2021. It was the fastest growing country in Europe, 14% GDP growth. Then it was very much affected by the start of the war in Ukraine. Had a contraction in 2022. Last year, it's back to growth, a modest growth. This year, it's expected to be a strong year. But beyond the macroeconomic numbers, we want to hear the story of 4 individual businesses, 4 individual investors investing in the country. And without further ado, my first question to each of you, and let's try to keep it to short, punchy answers, is why should investors care at all? These are people who have a fiduciary duty to maximize their profits. They're a little bit cynical, if I may use the word. They are not ideological. They are not, into saving the world necessarily. So they don't have an inherent passion about Moldova. So for this rational, profit-minded investor, why should they care about our country? Maybe we'll start with you, Carolina.
Yes. Hello. I'm really honored actually to be here on the panel and have more hats. First of all, as you have presented me, I'm the CEO of Moldcell. And Moldcell is part of the CG Cell, which is part of CG Corp Global. And it is a multinational conglomerate that is operating in 16 countries and has over 160 companies and 123 brands. I am also here as Deputy President of EBA Moldova, a business association that really supports Moldova's integration towards EU and is a real partner to the government in its reform agenda. Another hat, I am the President of Women in Business Association, and I am so happy that in the previous panel, Katarina has mentioned about how important is the inclusion of women into the labor force, because only by including 52% of our population into the labor force or entrepreneurship, we could have at least 8% GDP growth, something that Mr. Minister was aiming to. And also, I am the board of Foreign Investors Associations and really supporting and attracting investors to Moldova. And our, like AmCham, we are members Association of Telecom and IT companies. And yes, you were saying that businesses are rational, but in situations as Moldova is now, a real window of opportunity, I think it is also very important for the business community to be part of this process and really help and promote Moldova as a good potential citizen of European Union. Now, why Moldova? I will speak from the perspective of our shareholders, which is Mr. Binocio Dari. And actually, they have acquired Moldcell from Telia Group that has decided to exit from our markets during COVID time, exactly when COVID started in March 2020. And they haven't been to Moldova at all for almost 1 year. And they were so happy that the company has been running so well because of the people. And still, Moldova is a real an attraction for investors, even if we have maybe a lack of on the labor market, but we do have very much passionate people, very resilient people, and professional people. The other area of attraction would be for CG Group, for example, compared to other countries where they operate, is the really open dialogue with the government. And very much pro-business and pro-reform agenda, and very much open into looking what could be done better so the business is really thriving. And of course, last but not the least, is the proximity to EU. And this ambition that soon Moldova will be part of EU is definitely something that is attracting the investors to Moldova.
Thank you very much, Carolina. So let's continue with your colleagues. Please stay at about 2 minutes max. Brief introduction and why should investors care. Then we'll double click on each of your industry. Alex, maybe you.
Okay, Alex Philip, Purcari Wineries Group, Deputy CEO. Just not to add on what Carolina said, I would look at opportunity of roughly 2.5 million additional consumers. I would look also at the opportunity of investing in companies that have ambition to punch way above their weight, companies and individuals that have fought very hard to thrive in very difficult environments. And if we think as Romanians, as what took us so far over the last 25 years, I would think as Moldova on a smaller scale, but almost on steroids in terms of challenges that the country and the individuals there have had to face. And I think investing in companies like this that have proven resilience over times in very difficult contexts can be an amazing opportunity.
Vytautas Plunksnis, head of private equity at Invalda NVL, which is Lithuanian investment and asset management group managing 1 billion euros. We invested in Moldova when it was not cool in 2018, alongside EBRD and Horizon Capital acquiring significant stake in MAIB. And why you should invest in Moldova? So it's a very similar country to Lithuania, almost 3 million hardworking people, good culture, access to European markets, and basically it's overlooked by other investors. So if you come here first, as Mr. Alaiba said, you should triple your money in, let's say, 5 years.
Thank you, Vytautas. And Peter, word to you.
Hello, Peter Storr, board member and group CFO of the Premier Energy Group. We're one of the fastest growing energy infrastructure companies in Southeastern Europe, and about 75% of the Moldovan people receive their electricity, both on the distribution as well as the supply side, on the supply from our business. We invested in Moldova because we saw a growing market. We saw a growing market that has a lot of needs on the electricity side, on the infrastructure side, and the people there. We've already talked about how talented they are, but they're also a unique people. They're multilingual in many cases, and they're very devoted and hardworking. So it was a combination of those things that led us to invest in Moldova, as well as its proximity to, or really being part of Southeastern Europe. And we have a large business in Romania, and so to us there's a lot of convergence and a lot of integration happening with Moldova and the rest of the Southeastern European countries.
Thank you, Peter. Maybe we'll stay with you. So now I would like to double click on each of your industries, right? So we have, again, energy, we have financial services, we have wine, and we have telecom technology. So let's double click on it and try to bring the investment thesis to life and how you see the opportunity, but also challenges in your particular industry. So starting with you, Peter, again, the energy sector.
Well, from the energy sector perspective, I mean, the opportunity was discussed earlier. Digital Hollywood, as the Prime Minister mentioned, or digital inclusion, none of that happens without a very strong electrical backbone to the country. And so it's our electricity distribution network that we believe is very modern. We've invested over 60 million euros into the network over the last 3 years to make sure that it is able to work in a world where you have an increased amount of renewable resources, you have an increased demand on electricity throughout the day and throughout the working week and on the weekends. And so for us, really important to have that backbone, which really drives the rest of the economy in Moldova in many ways. In terms of challenges, it's less about Moldova. For us, it's a little bit more about the overall energy market. I mean, if you look at what's happened in the energy market over the last 5 years, we went from an environment where in 2020, right at the onset of COVID, we had the lowest energy prices that most of us have seen in our lifetime. Fast forward to 2 years, we've had the highest energy prices that we've seen in our lifetime. And it's that sort of volatility that really keeps us on our toes as an energy company. So that's really the biggest challenge for us. It's the energy markets, which are volatile, and at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're flexible and that we are efficient so that we can deliver the lowest energy prices to consumers in Moldova and the rest of the Southeastern European region.
Thank you, Peter. Let's move to financial services. Without us, you invested in MAIB, as you said, in 2018. I hope you see it as a good investment for you because we joined you in this investment. We do see it as a good investment, but maybe you bring it to life a little bit to us. What's the opportunity in the financial services sector and why should investors care about that particular one?
Yes, it has been a very good investment and will be for many years. So since 2018, our loan portfolio grew by more than 15% per year. And this will continue. Why? Because Moldova it has to grow faster than Western economies, and the banking is the backbone of any economy. So I respectfully disagree with the Prime Minister of Moldova that MAIB is very big. On European scale, we are very small bank, and we are investors as well in Lithuania in the 4th largest bank, and MAIB is like 2 times smaller in the balance sheet. So the growth will continue, and what we achieved in 5 years, it's incredible transformation from a corporate bank to retail and SME oriented bank, very much focused on the customer. Because like a couple of examples, in 2018 to receive consumer credit, it took like 2 weeks and you have to bring a bunch of papers. Now you can do with a couple of clicks on the app, and majority of applications processed in a couple of hours. So digitalization will continue, and now majority of our deposits and loans are issued through digital channels. And I believe once we meet, let's say, 5 years from now, so MAIB will be double or triple the size.
Thank you, Vytautas. And moving to Alex, and here maybe in full disclosure, I also happen to be the chair of this company, and I took the risk of convincing Alex, who was the managing director of McKinsey in Romania, to drop his fancy, high-paying consulting job and join a bunch of farmers, basically. So Alex, you could have worked for a bank, you could have run a technology company. Why did you join effectively a farming company, a wine company, Purcari? And what's the opportunity there?
So first of all, I have worked with many, many banks, and hence I could not have worked for any bank because it's just too much for me in terms of bureaucracy, but that's a different conversation. No, but for Purcari, and you actually stole my line, that, because you told me that we're a company of peasants, you call it. The way I look at the consumer goods space in Moldova, I think Moldova is a nation of winemakers. I think Moldova is a nation of farmers. And this is in the DNA of the country. And the only thing I can say is that, okay, productivity will grow, but commercial sophistication is there. And, there is a concept of the flying winemaker. I think Moldovans are flying wine merchants. And why do I say this? Thursday night, I was flying back to Bucharest. There was, I think, a team of roughly 8 to 10 representatives of winemaking companies. We were in a business lounge in Chisinau Airport. They were getting ready to ship a plane to Tokyo, I think. They're going all the way across the globe trying to sell Moldovan wines. And this is, trust me, it's not easy. You know, it's much easier to sell French wine than Moldovan wine, and they're pushing very hard. And I think this is, again, the point of resilience that consumer goods players, not just winemakers, in Moldova have shown. And they fight very hard every day, and they're quite successfully, if you think of exports of agricultural products from Moldova. So that's the general thesis. For me in particular, Purcari is a unique case of track record and ambition. Because some people have one or the other, but very few have both. And in our case, you know, it's all due to the inspiration of Mr. Bostan, the founder. We have a joke every day, it's okay, you've sold 1 million bottles or not? This is where the conversation starts. You know, we keep on pushing.
Thank you, Alex. I liked Prime Minister's, this morning, Moldova's Prime Minister's line that Moldova is like California because we have our Napa Valley, but we also have our Silicon Valley. So we're scoring we're punching above our weight both on wine and technology. So it's almost like a Californian business model. I really like that branding for the country. So from Napa Valley, let's go to the sort of Silicon Valley. So Carolina, the word to you. You're in the telecom business, but in much more advanced technologies. So what's the story there and what's the opportunity there?
Well, the story again, yeah, we were talking about how important, yes, and that financial sector is the blood. Wine is also blood, we can say. We are also saying blood of Moldovans. Telecom is definitely the heart, because without critical infrastructure arranged, without good data coverage, penetration, accessibility, you can't do business nowadays. And I think during time of COVID, we have seen it quite well. And here I also would like to thank the government, and Mr. Dumitru Alaiba is here with us. We really have very nice, very good constructive dialogue. Also, I need to mention about the private-public partnerships that we have had. Actually, we were the 8th country in the globe that launched mobile ID back in 2012. Since then, it is used with many services that government is offering. And it is definitely something that we should further enhance and be really happy about. Indeed, the government has this very much far-sighted view that to fight corruption, you need just to remove the physical interaction. And the more services you digitalize, the better environment you have in the country. And to have really a good digital service, you need to have infrastructure on one hand, and on the other hand, you need to have IT developers. And again, here we have heard today from the Prime Minister and also the Deputy Prime Minister that we have really good IT park facilities here in Moldova, the 7% flat tax rate. Recently, it has been added with additional services that could be there. And we have quite good predictability because the law has extended the term till 2035. And it is very much welcoming for the investors. Yeah, the case of Endava has been mentioned. What I need to say that my brother is actually also working in Endava and is developing their business in Singapore and Australia. And I'm very proud to have be part of Moldova that has been really gone globally. This is how actually our shareholder, his idea is that he's taking Nepal to the world. Once he has bought Molcel, he said, look, I will take Moldova to the world as well. So Molcel has become a center of excellence in terms of telecom. And yesterday we actually have signed an SPA for acquiring an operator in Kyrgyzstan, the majority stake from VEON Group. And I'm really proud that me and my colleague Cenk here has been part of this due diligence, and we have really successfully managed this job. Of course, if we look from Moldova's perspective, telecom, of course, is very much linked to the number of people that you have in the country. But definitely linking telecom with financial services is something, and it is about the digital inclusion and financial inclusion together. That's why Molcel has launched beginning of last year its mobile financial services, the wallet. And actually globally, there are transactions of 2 billion transactions daily that go through mobile financial services globally. And I think in the region, we still have a way to go there. Definitely a perspective for development.
The Maib guys, I think the Maib team should take note of a disruptor here who's going after your business, but I'll leave it.
Competition is also always
That's always great. So maybe we'll stay with you, just for the ease of the logistics here on stage. So not to put you on the spot, Carolina, but you've been exploring capital market ideas for Molcel or the group, and this could be a potential venue. And now you bought this Kyrgyzstan business. Maybe you're thinking of financing mechanisms there. So what is the potential for you, for your group, and what is the opportunity in terms of capital markets like the Bucharest Stock Exchange?
Yeah, definitely this is something interesting for the group. For Molcel, by its own, maybe it's not that big of a transaction that we could look into, but looking at the group level, and especially with its ambition to explore and increase its telecom area, it is definitely something to look at. And together with combining with the financial services, it becomes much more interesting for exploring capital markets. What can I say that as Molcel, governance-wise, we are very much ready. And we are also the only operator in Moldova that has 100% European network provider. Our partner is Ericsson, also here present. And we have been really investing this throughout our almost 24 years. And again, yes, we have inherited our governance processes from Telia and enhanced them with our new shareholder. This year we will be first time adopting ESG principle, actually 2023, and reporting now. It is not something related to compliance, it is something that we want to do, and of course preparing on the longer run for capital markets.
Thank you, Carolina. Maybe I'll jump to Peter again, just to connect the two, to build a bridge between the two sides of this panel. So the name of this event is Capital Bridges, and your group is present in both markets, both Moldova and Romania. So you have strong footprint in both. What can you tell us about the interaction of these two markets, how important it is, does it create opportunities, and you being in both of these markets, maybe you have a comparative perspective on both.
Sure. I mean, for us, we do have a very sizable energy business in Romania as well as in Moldova. As I mentioned, we are 75% of the people receive their electricity from us in the Republic of Moldova. We're also the largest renewable aggregator, manager of renewable assets in both countries, and it's a business that continues to grow rapidly for us. But in terms of the two markets, I mean, for us, it's, there's a convergence happening and there's an integration happening. And I think it's very important for the people of Moldova to have a choice on where they get their energy from. So there is more and more integration with the Romanian network, both on the electricity side as well as on the natural gas side, which we think is important. And that, at the end of the day, should allow for the Moldovan people to receive their energy at the lowest prices possible. And so we see a lot of, what does it mean, integration? It means that energy can flow freely between the two countries. There's plenty of capacity for that to happen. And I think this is a story for the rest of Southeastern Europe, where there's more and more sort of the ability of energy to flow in between all the countries. So that's really the important thing. And, it's to be efficient from an energy perspective. for the people.
And Peter, this question is not in the scenario, but these questions are always the most fun. So in terms of Bucharest Stock Exchange, local capital markets, anything you can tell us, like what do you think about them? Like what opportunities are seeing there?
So for our business, we've had a lot of growth over the last 10 years. We've grown the business from about 13 million euros of revenue 10 years ago to about €1 billion level today, and we see a lot of potential for growth, especially on the electricity generation side from renewables, and that requires capital. So we're always on the lookout to diversify our financing sources, so you need to always keep your mind open and look at opportunities, including in the capital markets potentially.
Thank you. Thank you for your perspective on this. Look, for all of this to work, we kind of have to address the elephant in the room. So without us, maybe I'll reach out to you. Your country does have a direct border with Russia, if I'm not wrong, Lithuania, right?
So Kaliningrad.
Yeah, Kaliningrad,
now
yes.
Is it Russia?
Let's address it. Of course, I think any discussion would be incomplete if we don't address that risk. So I'm sure many potential investors in this room actually are concerned about the war, the conflict, and the potential spillover of Moldova. So what's your perspective on this, and why are you taking comfort and still remaining committed to Moldova and actually looking to invest more?
So it's normal to be concerned, and we all, as citizens of Europe, should fight the aggressor. But on the other hand, if you're looking for opportunities, so where you should invest in factories for reconstruction of Ukraine. So one obvious choice would be Poland, because it's close, it's large. But another obvious choice is Moldova. And at Maib, when the war started, so we had this discussion, what should we do? And I'm really glad the decision was to continue lending to the economy, because there is this joke about bankers that they offer you umbrella when the sun is shining and take it back when it's raining, So we decided to be counter-cyclical, and in many months, our new loans market share is 50%. So if you are an investor, and this war for sure will end with Ukrainian victory, so if you're looking capitalize on those billions of dollars which will flow, so Moldova will be one of the choices to invest. And obviously construction of new facilities, new factories, it doesn't take 3 months. With all the planning procedures and so on, it might take 3 years, so the time is now.
Yeah, thank you, Tautas. If I may add here, because I'm based in Kiev. Normally, I'm getting this question a lot, and when people ask me what's the chance of the Russian army making it to Moldova, I always tell them that look at the map. There are 6 very important water barriers between the closest Russian troops and Moldova. And without pretending to be a military strategist, still just looking at the facts, it took Russia, 5 months to conquer 29 square kilometers in Avdiivka and 120,000 of troops based there. So what it would take to cross 6 huge water barriers, including the Dnipro River, which is one of the largest in Europe. Staying with this Russia topic, but changing tune a little bit. So Alex, Purcari used to sell 90% of their wines to Russia. After the embargo completely reinvented the business model, has been growing at 20% per year for many, many years. Very successful company, highest EBITDA margin of any wine company in the world. What's the source of the competitive advantage? Because you said it yourself that, it's not like selling French wine.
I like to think that the secret sauce, it's actually a very exceptional combination of winemaking ability and market understanding, because we have a say in the company, and this comes from It's going to sound like I'm preaching Mr. Bostan's words, but I am. The say goes that whatever wine you don't sell today, you don't sell tomorrow. That's number one. And the second one, which is important, is that the best wine is the one that gets sold. Okay? And this comes from a winemaker. And we do have debates, despite the high profitability, as to whether some investments make sense, whether we really need those ingredients in, fertilizers, and we really need to do all these things. We always get the answer that we must, because we are Purcari and have a certain standard. But despite this, we are actually able to grow profitably. And most winemakers actually get in love with the product, even beyond what customers want, because, of course, customers are never as sophisticated as the winemaker, and they end up not selling the wine. So I think this is the unique advantage for Purcari. And we're fighting hard to nurture it even further.
Yeah, and by the way, not to contradict you here, but I don't think it's easier to sell French wine compared to Moldovan wine. And I'll tell you why. Because French wine, you're like the wine number 9,355 French wine. It's like, ordering spaghetti carbonara in a restaurant, but people want something new, right? I think Moldova has a great chance to differentiate there, and that's why it's so successful. Okay, last round of questions. Back to the name of this event, Capital Bridges. For those of you who are maybe not very familiar with the history of this part of the world, Moldova and Romania used to be a single country. We speak the same language. We have the same history. We watch Romanian television. They listen to our singers, right? And they pretend that our singers are Romanian singers, which is not true, of course, but... in general, the two countries are very intertwined. So more than a third of the people have Romanian citizenship in Moldova. There's 3 flights a day from Chisinau to Bucharest, and it goes on and on. For your companies, for your sectors, what does it mean, and what does it mean for investors considering this interlinkage? The order in any order, without us.
I can start. So, as it was mentioned today, more than 1 million of Moldovans have Romanian passport. And for MAIB, this is an opportunity to enter a much larger Romanian market with the digital product. And also the size of the capital market, so it's obvious that if you would like to access capital market, you should do that here in Bucharest.
Thank you. Peter?
Again, for us, it's about the convergence and the integration from an energy perspective of the two countries. We just recently announced an acquisition of the CEZ Vânzare business, so we will have about 2.5 million customers between Romania and Moldova, which is a sizable amount. And so, we want to make sure we take care of those customers in both countries.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Carolina, and then Alex.
Moldova, as you said, Moldova and Romania are basically one people, and we had very nice discussions in the first speakers that said that there are other ways to come much faster to EU. And from the telecom perspective, it is very much similar, very competitive market. In Romania, we have 4 competitors for 22 million population. In Moldova, 3 competitors for 3 million population. In terms of penetration, we are also very much similar. In Moldova is much higher, probably because we are a bit more advanced in terms of IoT and M2M, because it is much easier to apply new technologies to a smaller market. In terms of data penetration and 4G penetration, it is also pretty much similar. It is almost 80% for both countries. The only differentiation point is that in Romania, we already have 1.5 million 5G subscribers. In Moldova, the market is not that much ready yet because it is mostly a B2B service, and the data speeds in Moldova are quite high. If we look also, the data consumption per user per day is also very much similar, like 9 gigabytes per day. So what we need to indeed work with the regulator and with the ministry to see how are we not remaining very far behind the industry all over the world, but at the same time we invest very much reasonable in terms of frequencies and in terms of technology. So this is something that is coming in the next year, is starting this year actually. And definitely what we should look at is the difference in ARPU that we have in Moldova is 3.5 euro and in Romania is 5.5 euro. And an ARPU is representing very much the disposable income, the well-being of the population. So we still have where to grow, and definitely with the EU integration, we will help our people to become more wealthy and be able to use more of the services of their telecom providers. And definitely something that both of the countries need to look into is the digital integration of the elderly, because in both countries we do have a growing proportion of elderly, and this is a project that Mulcel is very much dealing with the Ministry of Social Protection and Labor and support of UNFPA, and it has been this project has been really praised at UN Congress in Geneva 2 times, in Rome. So, and the other idea that has been discussed also today is about creating future professions, and this is also a project where Mulcel is involved together with the university, together with USAID and Swedish government, in really helping the universities create and leverage on the creative youth that we have in Moldova and teach them the new digital skills that they could stay in Moldova or work from Greece, from the beach, also for Moldovan company, and contribute to the GDP growth in Moldova. Another area where our regulators have really been pioneering, and from 2020, we have already implemented with Romanian operators like Roam Like Home, and from last year, December, already we have a voluntary agreement and with EU operators, and what I would like to ask more of the EU operators to sign this agreement, because only 4 operators from Europe has signed, so that we really start this voluntary approach much more earlier before it is coming something mandatory.
Thank you, Carolina, for your optimistic take. And Alex, you're closing this panel, and maybe you please prepare questions. If you have the best questions, we'll get a glass of wine with an intro from the Deputy CEO.
Just a glass? Maybe at
We'll
least
make it a bottle for the best ones.
Yeah, just a few thoughts, and I'll try to be structured. You know, we're discussing that one of the big opportunities in the room is Moldova's economic convergence with the EU and likely and hopeful integration within the EU. It just dawned on me as I was listening that one of the main beneficiaries of Romania's accession and convergence with the EU has been actually my company. We set up Romanian operations in 2003. It took us 20 years, but last year we were #1 in Romania. And we've grown significantly. Romania accounts for 60% of the group's sales. And probably, I mean, we would have not reached these levels without Romania's convergence. And I think with hindsight, everyone in the room would probably have invested in Romania back 20 years ago, knowing what we know now. So the second best thing we can do, given that that one is not possible unless we travel in time, is to look at the next best opportunity that we have next door. And one of the things that I have learned over my last 3 months in Moldova, it's the point that Peter raised. It's the multilingual, multicultural dimension that Moldova has, which is a unique opportunity for Romania to have a long-term option into everything that it's Russian-speaking sphere. And if we really think long-term, like the 20 years it took Purcari to reach #1 position in Romania, this is an area that you want to be. And I think even as close as Ukraine, if you don't speak Russian, I know Ukrainians probably have a difficult relationship with Russian today, but as a lingua franca, for investors to want to get along in Ukraine, Russian is essential. And as far as I know, not many Romanians speak Russian. Yeah, but not that many. Yeah.
No, that's a great point. Actually, I'm happy we end on this optimistic note because indeed, there's two things you said that really resonate. I think with me as well. You know, as an investor in this region, that when people think of Moldova as a 2.5 million or 3 million, including Transnistria, people market, you know, I think it's maybe not the complete way to look at it. So the way to look at Moldova is to understand that many Moldovan companies see Romania as an extension of the domestic market. And then suddenly a 3 million opportunity becomes a 23 million opportunities. And if our government will continue on this path of liberalization, digitalization, simplification, and creating a very, very attractive business environment, and here, sorry for the advertorial, but in the ease of doing business, Moldova has been consistently scoring a little bit ahead of Romania, and maybe I will stop there with this advertorial. You know, so this indeed creates opportunities for companies to operate out of the, say, very business-friendly environment in Moldova, but tap the large, attractive, high-growth Romanian market. And the other way around, indeed, for Romania to use Moldova as a beachhead towards the Slavic world and position themselves well for the reconstruction of Ukraine. Is going to be the biggest reconstruction project after the Second World War. $700 billion are at stake here, if we're looking at the numbers. And of course, Romanian companies should think, I think today already, okay, how can we leverage, you know, Moldova and the connections, cultural connections, linguistic connections, to position us to get a piece of that reconstruction. So on this optimistic note, thank you very much, the panel, for your engaging discussions, and let's open it for questions. I see your hand. You see what wine is making miracles.
Question to Mr. Philip. Thank you very much, everybody, for the nice insight that you give us all. Can you give us some details about the mission to Japan?
Yes, this is an industry body sponsored. It's ONVV Wines of Moldova sponsoring this event, and I think there are probably 10 wineries from Moldova that go there. And I think Japan is just one instance. We were 3 weeks ago, all of us, I think there were 50 wineries from Moldova in Dusseldorf, in ProWine, which is the largest wine event in the world. And to give you a sense of the drive and thrive that, you know, Moldovans put into this, there were 20 Romanian wineries attending the same event, 50 versus 20. And if you think of total wine production, so Romania is much bigger. And this is where the benefit of scale and having a domestic market actually plays to someone's disadvantage, because they probably get complacent and they don't need to sell that much abroad, whereas Moldovans need to, because we have you know, a big production compared to capita. So this is the context.
Thank you. And another hand.
No, because we have live translation, sorry.
Yes, as an investor investing in the agriculture sector, my understanding is Moldova does not allow external investors to invest and own agricultural land there. That's a challenge. Let's discuss that, because you guys are probably better experts than I would be on that.
I think the best positioned person maybe to address this question is the Minister of Economy. He's here front row, so why not put him on the spot?
Okay, I just did.
It's also a political question, because we have been tackling this question as Foreign Investors Association and European Business Association, and it is not such an easy situation whenever you have elections, and you need to understand that it is a very sensitive, but definitely we need to continue. And with the EU accession, actually the legislation should be aligned, and ultimately, once we will be in EU, it will be possible.
Maybe we'll give the word to Dumitru Alaiba, the Minister of Economy, actually, because he may have a view too.
Thank you, Vasile, you're a true friend. Now, the thing is, I mean, what I say right now can so easily be weaponized and used by Russian propaganda exactly in this pre-electoral period that we are in, because land is such a sensitive subject to Moldova. So what we're doing is we're streamlining all the reforms. We're cleaning up everything from the point of view of doing business. This is a reform that might alienate or might confuse a lot of people. So far, from what I know, there are multiple solutions for foreigners to do business in agriculture in Moldova. If there is a conversation coming on the subject, it will probably be another government and another minister pushing this reform ahead, and this is in all honesty. I think we have so many structural issues to move that could benefit greatly the economy before we have this conversation in the society.
Thank you, Minister, for your frank answer, but maybe not to let an opportunity go. The way to structure it is you do a 49 years lease, and you have a call option on buying this land if the legislation changes, and you have a nominal allowed by the law rate on this lease. That's how we did it at Purcari, fully transparent. We disclose it to our investors, and so far the investors took comfort in this structure because it's fully transparent, it's compliant with the law, and at the same time does allow the control of the land. So yes, it's not ideal, but it provides the comfort necessary to the foreign investors. Rafaela, one more question.
I'm afraid I'm going to touch another sensitive issue, the currency. Can you give us your view on whether the national currency matters? Is it a barrier? Is it all going to be euro and dollar as soon as you scale up? I mean, how do you think about FX risk, if at all? Maybe not at all.
I'm looking at the panel, but I'm also looking at Georgi Shagidze here. You know, he runs the largest bank. You probably have a view on this.
I think one of the strongest points for Moldovan economy is indeed the very stable currency rate. And if you go back 20 years, the currency rate is one of the most competitive if you compare it to the rest of the emerging market countries. Going forward, what would be the best for Moldova is maybe very difficult for me right now to say, but from this perspective, I would really highlight the strong point of this. Then 60% going to Europe already means that the economy is very close with Europe.
Maybe I can add, so for example, when we invested in our Excel, we had currency depreciation, but it didn't happen. And I also compare it to Lithuania's currency board model, where we had a peg to the dollar, later to the euro. And there were a lot of renowned economists criticizing the model, saying you should devalue. But the answer was you should just work harder and be more efficient. And this stable currency is one of the attributes that at least it takes out the one thing to worry about. So, and to my surprise, economy is not dollarized. So people are dealing in lei, and if it's some bar you ask to pay in euro, so maybe they will accept at some bad rate, but in general, it's national currency is used. And as well with Ukrainian war, so many refugees going through the country, so they bring currency, and there is like natural demand. But for an investor, I would say that this is a positive stable currency.
Thank you. Very engaged. How are we doing on time? We need to transition to the next one because I'm seeing more. We need to cut. I'm really sorry for this. But thank you for attending this panel. The next one is going to be a lot of fun too. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you to our panelists.